other dragon deck. No! But 3 times. If you guys love 5Ds, let me know. Dragon up! Since this July, we've been focusing a lot of our efforts on this channel into constructing the perfect Kagero deck using Dragonic Waterfall. Now, with no organized play plan for Cardfight Vanguard and no wear-ins coming to be in sight, we would never get the chance to do it. But thanks to Bushiroad launching Thank You Fest, we have an opportunity. So after constructing 3 episodes based off this Kagero deck and putting it to the test, the next step that we're gonna take is entering a tournament.
He's cool, he's hot like a frozen sun. He's young and fast, he's the chosen one. People were not bragging. He's the American dragon. He's gonna stop his enemies with his dragon power. Dragon teeth, dragon tail, burning dragon fire. Real live wire. American dragon. American dragon.
So it's the day after the tournament, and boy, do I gotta say, was that a fun tournament. Although it's for fun and we all had a great time, I'm here to tell you guys that this deck is legit. Like, actually, even though we didn't take first place, the deck actually performed really well, and I made one change that I think carried me a lot at times. So, of course, I wouldn't go into any tournament or a Kagero episode without making a slight change so we could drag it up to another level. So what I did was, with the help of my triple sleeve TCG teammate Crow, he suggested that I change my trigger lineup from 7-5 to 6-6. So in that case, we took out an Embodiment of Spirit Tar and added in another Red Gem Carbuncle and played a total of 6 critical and 6 draw. With that change, we also put on our Yusei sleeves. If you guys love 5Ds, let me know, and yeah, just love 5Ds for our gift markers, and of course our Kai sleeve for our quick shield. Round 1 was up against Will. So Will, who has overstayed his match on the channel with how easy it was to take us down back in episode 2, we're up against him again. This time was a lot different. Yes, he used Altmile, so you could consider this game a rematch of episode 2. So what made this game different is we added the book order. We added Airmo, we added Red Dive Griffin, and we added Draw PGs. So granted, the deck is more complete than it was when he first played it, and that's exactly what he faced. So he rushed us super early with his Altmile abilities, with Levero and all these cards that he could plus off, such as Marin. But then the only card that really helped us out to get us through that hard setup was Kimnara. So Kimnara, of course, being able to, after he got his full field, being able to get rid of his Starlight Violinist, which he called, and then because he already had all of these face down damage and got us a 3 damage just off his first attack order, we were able to counter rush essentially with Kimnara, retire some of his back row units like his Violinist, and then use our Vanguard, which was boosted, which was a Doha, and then we had another one to call, to attack his rear guards so he doesn't have counterblast to use when he rides Aerial Divine Knight Altmile. And that's exactly what happened. He had to go Force 1, and he had to commit another card from hand, leaving him with only like from 4 to 7 cards in hand the whole game. And we were just able to take advantage of that. But what was really special is that turn 4, we were able to get off the book order because this was kind of a long match. And with the book order, we drew 2 waterfalls and a heal. Since we rode Dual Axe, our first grade 3 ride with a Force 1, we're not only able to ride once, not twice, but 3 times. And by the 3rd waterfall, we were swinging for 63k, 2 crit, when he was at 4 damage. And this is where it got really cool because he guarded for 88k, and since he dropped a heal trigger, we used Red Dive Griffin, which we drew, and we had an extra soul charge because we had used a guard and a Doha earlier in the game to retire a heal trigger that he placed. So it made it a 68k guard. And so it was essentially a 1 to pass to sum up. And we don't hit the trigger. That game came down to the trigger. Like, we were able to properly defend all his attacks. and even though he didn't have face-up damage, he still had like the grade 3 in soul. So it was just big numbers, critical pressure, and even though we got onto a point where we could win the game, unfortunately we weren't able to pull it out. So let's dragon up into round 2. Dragon up indeed. So we're up against Narukami Vanquisher. So Vanquisher, of course, is like the other dragon deck in Cardfight Vanguard, even though I play it as well. And it was a bad game for both of us. So I was stuck on grade 0. I went second again, like I did in round 1. And because I had to G-assist for my grade 1, I was forced to remove a PG and a heal trigger from my hand, because the other cards in our hand were actual units like the book order, which I needed to save, because if he takes out stuff from my hand, I want to have that big burst play. But here's where things got interesting. He was guarding early. So I was like, oh, okay, Excel 2, he's going to be able to recover. But then he doesn't ride the Vanquisher. He has to ride Jaggy Shot and has another one to boot. So although he was able to get rid of our front row easily, I took advantage of the situation by just smartly guarding and smartly placing my units to where I saved it all up for when he was in optimal kill range. So when he got to a point where he had 2 cards in hand, because I attacked his rear guards to make sure that he would have to just place something if he wants another attack. And I had 3 damage, so I could use the book order. I drew into another waterfall at one point in the game to be able to ride, so I could use waterfall skill. And that's what I did. So I went force 2 because I knew I had to compensate earlier for the game. And my 2 front row rear guards, which were a waterfall and a bellicosity, had the force 2 marker. So my Vanguard attack was swinging with a crit, and the rear guard was swinging with a crit as well. So on that turn, finally, when he had 2 cards in hand, I activate the book order to give my front row plus 10,000 power. And when I attacked, it swung for 33k, 3 crit. And he couldn't guard that just because the cards that he checked was normal units. So this was really good. And on our drive check, we hit a draw. So we were able to also power up our bellicosity. And because it also got 5k from the card retired with Waterfall's on-ride skill. So that bellicosity was swinging with the boost from Garen for 33k 2 crit as well, which was over the shield value. So we took him from 2 to 7 essentially in that one turn to win us the game. And that gave me the confidence that this deck is really, really good heading into the final round. And in the final round, we have a Kagero Mirror. Kagero Mirror meaning that we're up against Overlord. Now, the Overlord player and I got really invested in this game, like with the whole Dragon Up, American Dragon. And he was kind of acting like Kai with like his Kagero passion. And it was just an overall really fun game to be a part of. And because the Kagero Mirror is a little bit more iffy matchup for me because I've never really tested it, I think that Force 2 is the better gift marker just because they're going to be committing as much as you, if not less, just because this deck is a little bit more different and a little less consistent, if that makes sense. I go Force 2, riding the dual axe first, and I put it on my rear guard, which was a Doha column. And he rides the original Overlord because he went first as well. We went second the whole day. So I had to perfect guard his first Overlord attack because I didn't want him to get 2 attacks off 4 damage, because it would have like kind of put me behind. And then when I was ready to go into Waterfall, he was at a point to where he rode into the end the following turn, and he was at a point where he only had like 2 cards in hand. So I just kind of grinded out the game from there. Just because Kagero, you kind of have to play a little bit more grindy matchup. And when I grinded out the game to where he only had 2 cards in hand, oh man, this turn was perfect for us. He had no intercepts, he had the end of his Vanguard, that's it. He hits 1 trigger, our turn's over, but we attack with our Waterfall. It hits, takes him to 4 damage because we kind of kept his damage count low, so he can't use like the counterblast skills and all this, that, and the other, and he has to commit more cards from hand. And then, because this deck has a lot of potential with Waterfall and Force 2, and then he can't guard the rear guard of Doha because it goes from 4 to he can't guard the rear guard Doha, and it takes it from 4 to 6. Then he gets a heal, and I'm like, oh no. Yep. And when he attacks, he has the pieces to go triple restand with the end, and I just couldn't guard it. And then he gets a crit on top of that, and I was like, no. Oh, what a game though. Like, even though we went 1-2 on the day, I really like to point out, like, because this vlog's like not as detailed and in-depth on the deck, I want to point out how consistent this deck really ran, with the exception of not riding the waterfall when you need it. And to get like legit decks, we beat one obviously because they didn't have the proper pieces, but to get like legit decks like Altmile and Overlord to places where we would have a winning position with a deck like this, I'm super proud of how we did. And with the upgrades coming in from Silver Dust Blaze in a few weeks, or in this week actually, I can't wait to see how this deck would do when we really get to flesh out some of our engines of the deck, especially such as our Burnout, because I used Burnout a lot against the All-Mile match. If I could draw on top of that, man, this card would be busted. And comboing that with Airmo, just seeing more Airmos, you have a lot more success just because you're able to maintain advantage with your Airmos. So there's a lot of cool things that this deck did this weekend. It was just a super fun like get together for the community that I'm in, and I just really enjoyed it overall. So this is a little bit kind of different vlog. It's not as like detailed in terms of like the changes. I just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of how this deck performed with some images. I tried to not impose too much with the camera just because it's remote fights. So anyway guys, thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and dragon up for next time. And I know you guys are gonna love it. Peace.